Hey guys, Tom Alexander here and welcome to The Club, our weekly review show where we look at pretty much whatever the hell we want to. And this week we are looking at the 1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So this version is actually a remake of the 1956 version, which is actually an adaptation of the book The Body Snatchers. Now this film is a good old-fashioned science fiction, something that we don't really see anymore. It's more in the vein of original sci-fi from about the early 50s rather than anything that we have today. And because of this, as you watch the film, it does feel like a very, very slow burner. The version of the film that I saw was just under 2 hours long, and it's actually an hour and a quarter into the film before anything that can actually be deemed as action actually takes place. Now this is absolutely fine. Audiences back then obviously didn't have to put up with the very, very tiny attention spans that we have nowadays, so they could spend their time building up the tension. As this film has now been around for over 35 years, a lot of its content has now become somewhat cliched. Certain events in the film and certain characters have been parodied many, many times. One of the best examples of which actually takes place in an episode of Futurama, and along with these parodies comes the really, really quite awful remakes. Like there was one recently in 2007 starring Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman. So a lot of the cliches and a lot of the remakes have actually diluted the scare factor of the film, but I found that the film itself did actually grip me and was interested enough to keep my attention throughout the entire 2 hours. And you just got to really think that present day viewers such as myself have been bombarded with so much gruesome horror that we have actually become desensitized to a thriller that actually builds up over time. So as a present day viewer, the film really didn't scare me that much, but I can understand how it was viewed by people of the time. So as it is a good old fashioned horror, it would not be complete without a really, really pain in the arse woman that pretty much screams her entire dialogue. There is a character within this film that does spend most of her time either crying or screaming or just wailing in general, and I find that this really shows the age of the piece. Like, I have grown up on the films where, quite rightly, the women have been treated equally to the men. To actually sit down and watch a film where a woman is portrayed as a woman who is completely out of control of her emotions did really start to get on my nerves. Another thing about the film that kind of spoilt it for me was actually the tension music used in certain scenes. The music itself was very, very 70s, and really didn't have the desired effect of adding mood to any of the scenes that it was in. It just seemed to be plodding along in the background and never really added anything to it. Now I think this is down to the composer of the film rather than the year that the film came out, because in the same year John Carpenter's Halloween came out, and the music in that is still absolutely terrifying. Now a thing that really, really bugged me was one of the final confrontation scenes where Donald Sutherland comes across an alien spore factory and actually tries to destroy it. And how he actually destroys it is by cutting down the lights of the factory, which then fall to the ground and explode. This I found very odd, as all the light bulbs exploded on contact. Now I don't know if light bulbs in the 70s were highly explosive and they've just made light bulbs now that aren't, and I found the whole event completely unbelievable. So either the light bulbs in the 70s did actually explode and cause an entire factory to fall down, or it was just a bad way to get that character through a certain plot point. But saying all of that, the final scene of the film is just brilliant. It absolutely makes the film. I'm not going to spoil it because it's just one of those things that you actually really have to watch. I would actually recommend this film. You can probably get it like for £1 on Amazon, so if ever you have an afternoon free, just go out and buy it, because it is highly enjoyable and it is just a good look at what cinema used to be like. So yeah, so that's my review. Next week we'll be keeping with film and we'll be looking at Prometheus, which is still in the cinema. So go out, watch it, and then leave me a comment or a video response, and you could actually make it onto next week's show. As always, like, subscribe, visit wearethewritingpeople.co.uk, and I'll see you next week.